I communicated to her as much, that this wasn't something I could simply overlook. I explained to her that the reality she'd even contemplated divorce and proceeded so far as consulting a lawyer about it made me question everything about our relationship. How could I trust someone who was already psychologically preparing for the worst-case situation? She attempted to clarify, pleaded with me to reconsider. She claimed she didn't intend for things to progress this far and that she was simply frightened and didn't know how to manage her emotions. She kept emphasizing that she wasn't planning on abandoning me, that she was simply investigating her possibilities because she was afraid. But honestly, her words felt empty at that juncture. No matter how extensively she attempted to justify herself, the harm was already inflicted. I couldn't continue acting like everything was acceptable when it unmistakably wasn't. I informed her I required space to absorb everything, that we needed to withdraw and reevaluate where we stood. She begged me not to abandon us, but I couldn't provide her that false optimism anymore. I needed time to contemplate. Since that discussion, things have been strained, to express it mildly. I've been residing at a friend's residence for several nights to obtain some distance, just to clear my mind. She's been messaging me relentlessly, oscillating between apologizing and attempting to rationalize her actions. I've scarcely responded because honestly, I don't even know what to communicate anymore. Every time I contemplate the reality that she was already exploring divorce situations, it feels like a blow to the stomach. I can't simply forget about that. At this juncture, I don't know where we proceed from here. Part of me desires to believe we can repair this, but another part of me questions if too much harm has already been inflicted. Trust is the cornerstone of any relationship, and at this moment, ours feels like it's disintegrating. I don't know if we can reconstruct it, or if I even desire to attempt. For now, I'm simply taking things one day at a time. I've communicated to her I require space to determine what I want, and I've even begun investigating my own legal possibilities just in case. It feels surreal to contemplate things like divorce, but I can't dismiss the reality of the circumstances. If she's already contemplated what a separation might resemble, then I need to be prepared for that eventuality too. It's extensive to absorb, and I don't possess all the solutions yet. I simply understand that I can't continue existing like this indefinitely. Something has to transform, one way or another. Update 3. After another week of contemplation and providing myself the space I required, I've reached a decision that I never anticipated I'd need to make. I informed my wife that I cannot persist in our marriage under these conditions. It wasn't something I arrived at casually, and honestly, I struggled with it for days. I kept anticipating some kind of revelation, a moment of lucidity where I'd sense that we could repair things, but it never materialized. The trust between us has been demolished in ways that I simply can't envision us mending. The past week has been an emotional whirlwind. I've been residing at a friend's residence, attempting to clear my mind, but the stillness and isolation have provided me far too much time to contemplate. I attempted to adhere to my regular routine, work, errands, even visiting the gym, but every single time, my thoughts kept returning to her and the circumstances we're in. Every time I reflected on those discussions we had, about her operating behind my back to consult a lawyer, and about her discussing divorce situations, it simply felt like a fresh injury reopening. I contemplated the kind of existence I desire for myself. I desire a partnership founded on mutual trust, respect, and transparency. But I couldn't reconcile that vision with the reality of what my marriage had transformed into. It's not simply about the prenup anymore. It's about the reality that she was prepared to rewrite the terms of our relationship the instant they no longer benefited her. And that kind of conduct, I simply can't unsee it. Several days ago, we had another discussion. I informed her I was still absorbing everything and needed to know if there was anything else she wanted to reveal. I wanted to provide her one final opportunity to be completely transparent about anything that might have been concealed or not fully addressed. She claimed there was nothing else, but honestly, her manner felt suspicious, like there was something she wasn't communicating to me. Maybe I'm interpreting too much into it, but at this juncture, I don't feel like I can rely on my intuition when it concerns her. What truly cemented my decision, though, was a discovery I made immediately after that discussion. I've been examining some old emails and documents to prepare for my own legal consultation, and I encountered an email exchange between her and her lawyer. It was from months ago, before any of this erupted. In the emails, she was already posing questions about the prenup, divorce proceedings, and how assets might be separated. This wasn't a recent development triggered by our confrontations. It was something she'd been contemplating for quite some time. That struck me forcefully. When I confronted her about it, she collapsed again, but this time, her justifications felt empty. She claimed she wasn't planning on pursuing it, and that she was simply preparing for the worst. But honestly, I couldn't accept it. If she had worries, why didn't she raise them back then? Why delay until now, when the financial circumstances have reversed? I've come to comprehend that betrayal doesn't always resemble the dramatic sequences you observe in films. Sometimes it's more subtle. It's the seeds of suspicion planted behind your back. For me, this entire situation feels like a betrayal of the trust and partnership we were meant to share. With all of this burdening me, I contacted a lawyer to begin exploring my next steps. I've been explicit about wanting to safeguard my assets, particularly my inheritance, which I intend to allocate toward long-term objectives. The lawyer has been exceptionally helpful in guiding me through what I need to accomplish and what to anticipate moving forward. It's a sobering procedure, but I understand it's something I must do. Delivering the news to her was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to accomplish. I sat her down, and I communicated to her I couldn't persist in existing in a marriage where I'm perpetually questioning her motives. I clarified that this wasn't about vengeance or fury. It was about my requirement for peace and stability. She implored me to reconsider, claimed she'd do whatever it required to make things right. She even proposed to sign something formal to reassure me that she wasn't pursuing my money. But by then, it wasn't simply about the money anymore. It was about the deterioration of trust, and I comprehended I couldn't envision a future with her where this dynamic didn't persist between us. She was absolutely devastated, and witnessing her cry shattered me inside. Despite everything, I don't despise her. I don't believe she's a terrible person, but I do believe she made decisions that positioned herself ahead of us as a couple. And once that boundary is crossed, it's challenging to return. I've begun relocating some of my possessions out of the house, and have been staying with a close friend while I determine my next steps. It's surreal, packing up fragments of a life I believed was solid and permanent. But I understand this is what I must do for my own well-being. Several people have proposed that I'm surrendering too readily, but I don't perceive it that way. For years, I've been supportive and devoted to our relationship, even when things weren't flawless. I've made sacrifices and compromises, but when the foundation of a relationship is shaken this profoundly, sometimes the optimal thing you can do is depart. I'm heartbroken, but I also experience a sense of liberation, like a burden has been removed. This isn't the outcome I desired or envisioned, but I believe it's the correct choice for my future. I don't know what follows next, but I'm optimistic that with time, I'll emerge from this more resilient and wiser. To everyone who contributed advice and support throughout this journey, thank you. It's been an agonizing journey, but understanding that others have experienced similar struggles and emerged on the other side provides me hope.